let's get out to one of those construction zones and Lauren Johnson.
Hey there, Karen. We're along Route 1 in Hunting Park, and so if you take this stretch of roadway, maybe for your morning commute, you better slow down and beware because cruising too quickly could cost you. PennDOT sent out a reminder on Twitter last week. Back in 2018, they tell us work zone crashes resulted in 23 fatalities. Two factors that contribute are distracted driving and excessive speeding. So in an effort to curb these issues, today starts the automated work zone speed enforcement program. It's a state-run program that uses an automated system to detect when drivers are exceeding work zone speed limits by 11 miles per hour or more. So don't look for actual officers to be pulling you over or those blue lights in your back windshield. Your violation will be mailed to you. The first time, it's a written warning. The second time, expect to pay $75. Three or more times will cost you $150. It's a really heavy price to pay for driving too fast, but the hope is that it forces people to slow down and ultimately save lives. Since 1970, PennDOT tells us they've lost 89 workers in the line of duty. The PA Turnpike says it's lost 45 workers since 1945. So let's all of us do our parts to slow down and make the road a much safer place to be, and of course avoid getting the headache and the expense of a speeding ticket. Karen and Thomas. Hey, good morning to both of you. So a lot of people take this way to go to work or to come home from work. It's Route 1 right here in Hunting Park. And a lot of cars you see now hitting their brakes so they can't speed through this area. But that's a good idea because starting today, this is going to be a problem for you and cost you lots of money. PennDOT sent out a reminder on Twitter last week. In 2018, they tell us work zone crashes resulted in 23 fatalities. Two factors that contribute to that: distracted driving and excessive speeding. In an effort to curb both of these issues, today starts the automated work zone speed enforcement program. So it's a state-run program. It uses an automated system to detect when drivers are exceeding work zone speed limits by 11 miles per hour or more. So if you're in violation, here is how the fines are broken down. Your first offense will get you a warning letter. The second offense means you have to pay $75. The third time and any time after that will mean a $150 fine. Now, there are 6 different enforcement zones all across the state that are being monitored. As of now, that number could go up. There was a 60-day pre-enforcement period that ended last Wednesday when the notice or reminder came out. So today it is official. You want to slow down if you are driving through these zones. Of course, safety is the priority, but of course you want to save yourself a few dollars from having to get fined and ticketed. Mike and Alex.
Slow down. All right, Lauren, good to see you.
All right, let's get out to Montgomery County and Lauren Johnson. Lauren, my kids came home skipping, being like, no school tomorrow. And I went, ah.
Yeah, it's disinfecting day, so instead of students coming here to school for class, it's going to be shut down for a complete wipe down of all high-touch surfaces, doorknobs, hand railings, and all public spaces. All of this comes out of an abundance of caution after a possible exposure at a CHOP outpatient center in King of Prussia. A cardiologist at that site was diagnosed with COVID-19. The Lower Merion School District learned 2 students and a staff member may have come in contact with that doctor and ultimately become exposed. The 3 of them are under quarantine for at least 14 days. So the district is using today as a chance to clean up, wipe down, and disinfect the school as best as possible. As for that doctor being cared for at the hospital of the University of Pennsylvania, the health department is trying to trace all contact with this patient and provider.
We have been told that there were 13 patients that had direct contact with this provider.
I think it's tough for parents, but the school district is making the decisions they think are best, and we just need to all kind of do the best we can to work together.
I have hope, but there's always that chance that this might be a big thing and it might cause a lot of suffering for a lot of families.
Talk about reinforcing good hygiene and, that the parents are doing, the best they can to keep all of our families safe.
The CDC advised the district the 3 individuals at risk pose no risk for transmission since they're not showing any signs or symptoms of sickness. But that is not stopping the district from enhancing their cleaning protocols. Keyboards, railings, door handles, and knobs, and all high-touch surfaces are being given special attention. The superintendent also announced this year's Reading Olympics is canceled due to concerns about large group gatherings. So as disappointing as it might be for students, school leaders say at this point they are trying everything they can to be safe rather than sorry. Karen and Thomas.
Certainly, as we learn more, taking it day by day. Lauren, thank you. 437.
All right, dozens, as I mentioned, schools without the kids. There's Lauren.
Hey, good morning, Mike and Alex. So we know that double digits are now the numbers that we're seeing in Pennsylvania when it comes to the coronavirus. 3 of those people hospitalized. And as those numbers grow, so does fear and panic. It's also a chance, though, to pause and regroup, which is what many of the school districts are now doing with classes canceled on Tuesday. One of the infected people is a cardiologist working for the Children's Hospital of Pennsylvania in King of Prussia. The hospital suspended services at that facility, while anyone who has come in contact with that doctor is urged to be quarantined for at least 14 days. 2 students and a staff member here at Lower Merion High School came in contact with the cardiologist, but are not showing any signs or symptoms of sickness. Because of that contact, though, the school district is using today for a deep cleaning and disinfecting with a special focus on door handles, desks, railings, and other public shared high-touch surfaces.
We have been told that there were 13 patients that had direct contact with this provider.
I think it's tough for parents, but the school district is making the decisions they think are best, and we just need to all kind of do the best we can to work together.
I have hope, but there's always that chance that this might be a big thing and it might cause a lot of suffering for a lot of families.
Talk about reinforcing good hygiene, and that the parents are doing the best they can to keep all of our families safe.
The one thing most everyone can agree on is the fact that navigating this very new and novel virus is complex and confusing, so everyone really just doing the best they can. School districts say they would rather be safe than sorry in these instances of closing schools and canceling classes for students. At least 6 area school districts have announced closures because of corona and the infected doctor in the King of Prussia area. Many more are doing deep cleaning around the clock to fight the germs and the sickness that could plague the students and the staff. So again, a lot of school districts closing, Mike and Alex, but they say they'd rather be safe than sorry.
I got it. All right,
We understand
8:06.
Lauren Johnson has been reporting on so many of these closures over the past week. She's joining us from Westchester University this morning. Lauren.
Hey there, Thomas. So one way to figure out where students have been and where they're going is simply ask the question. And that's what the president here at Westchester did. And the results were a little surprising for him. And it was reason enough to make some changes on campus. 17,000 students were sent surveys. 10,000 of them responded. Of that, 3,000 said they would be traveling for spring break, which is this week. 1,000 said it would be a distance requiring travel by plane, trains, or automobiles. 400 said their plans did include traveling overseas by plane. And seeing how quickly the corona outbreak has spread nationwide and globally, all it takes is just one person. So the university decided canceling in-person classes allowed the most control on campus.
We considered just doing this and hoping that the disease progression would blow over. But if we got to a point, say 3 weeks out, and we brought everybody back to campus, everybody moved back in, and then somebody presented with the virus, we'd have to empty the campus again. So we felt that once we've gone to all the trouble to implement this new approach, we might as well continue through the semester and just complete the semester using this method.
In Lehigh County at Muhlenberg College, a similar decision to suspend in-person classes has students scrambling there. They're being asked to leave on-campus housing by Saturday afternoon, which is causing a lot of stress there. At Princeton University, a bigger scare on that campus. 2 staff members currently under self-quarantine due to possible exposure to the coronavirus at an off-campus gathering. The university says both people have been tested and they are awaiting those test results. So a lot of scares on college campuses all across the country, and presidents on those campuses, Karen and Thomas, are having to make some really tough decisions.
Really tough. All right, Lauren, thanks.
Let's get to Lauren Johnson. She's live outside of West Chester University. And this is the first local university to say, hey, we're not having you guys have human-human contact during the rest of the semester.
Yeah, that's right. So more refunds they're offering, less regrets. They say they want more remote instruction. The president here at West Chester University says it was an easy decision considering how quickly the coronavirus seems to be spreading. He'd rather overreact and keep everyone safe than to wish he had done things differently. West Chester faculty members will now spend the next 2 weeks revamping their courses, changing them to online or virtual classes. This comes after the university ended the in-person on-campus class experience for the rest of the semester. The residence halls and South Campus apartments closing. Students are being scheduled to return to campus to collect their belongings after spring break ends this week. So now the question many students and their parents are asking, what happens to all of my money?
Any of the expenditures that the students made for services that they're not going to receive because they're leaving, we're going to refund to them. So housing, food plans, meal plans. Athletics, so far, the spring sports are all outdoors. Our athletes travel to the sporting events in chartered buses, not in public transportation. So as of now, we're continuing with the competition of our spring sports.
Now at Princeton University, a much bigger scare on that campus. 2 staff members are currently under self-quarantine due to possible exposure to the contagious virus at an off-campus gathering. The university says both people have been tested. Results are expected in the coming days. Now, back here at West Chester, the president sent out surveys to students when he heard back that 400 of his 17,000 students were planning to travel overseas during spring break. He said he knew he needed to make a big decision to protect the entire campus. We're going to talk to that president coming up in the next half hour. He'll be here with us live, Mike and Alex. We can ask him a lot of questions. So if one comes to mind, you can always tweet me or email me. Make sure I get that question out to him. But he says, you know, he'd rather be safe than sorry in a situation like this.
I think a lot of people feel the same way.
Right. And thank you, Lauren. I think it's interesting, too, that he did that survey.
West Chester University has canceled all on-campus classes for the rest of the semester.
So we want to get to Lauren Johnson, who's live on the campus, and she's actually talking with the university's president right now.
Here she is.
Hey, good morning, both of you. We do have to make a correction. I think our crawl at the bottom of the screen says the classes are canceled, period, but I think we have to make sort of an adjustment. The classes are canceled on campus, but there will still be classes. Dr. Chris Fiorentino, good morning. Thanks so much for joining us this early. I know you're a very busy man.
Good morning, Lauren.
Let's try to answer some questions for our students and parent population that might be watching this morning. Let's start with campus housing. I know it's spring break week, which kind of works to your advantage this week while students are off campus. You don't want to bring 17,000 kids back on campus, and that's part of the reason why you made this decision.
That's correct. We have 5,100 housing units or beds for our students, and by and large, we're saying that we don't want them to come back. Now, we do have international students. We have students in our Promise program, and in those cases, they don't have good options at this point. So we're going to continue to house them on campus, continue to feed them. So we're not turning anybody out on the street. So
and you're working sort of with Resident Life to make sure the students can come back on campus, get their belongings, and it not be a flood of kids on campus coming back from different locations around the country and the world.
We're assuming that students have their books here, maybe their laptops, and they'll need to get them in order for us to execute this. So we'll try to phase things the same way that we do when we move people into campus. They come in phases. So student affairs will work with them to make sure that we have people coming at a moderate pace so that we're not overwhelming the campus and, again, creating the problem of too many people interacting with each other.
Chris, you did something unique in surveying the students to find out what are your spring break plans, and that kind of led you down the road to say maybe we shouldn't have kids come back on campus. Talk about that.
Well, yes, our registrar's office had the presence of mind to survey the students, and we got responses from about 10,000 of our students, and over 3,000 indicated that they were traveling somewhere. Over 400 of those 3,000 were going overseas somewhere, and well over 1,000 indicated they were going to be on an airplane, a train, a bus, a cruise ship. And so we looked at the situation and said, well, okay, everybody's away right now. What are the chances that all of these students are going to come back from all these places and not put us in a situation where we're going to have somebody infected by the virus. So that's really what moved us to act at this point.
And we know all it takes is one, and it spreads very quickly. Another thing that parents, I think, are concerned about, and maybe students, refunds, the money that they've spent for the semester. Kind of speak to that.
Yes, well, the housing payments, if they're not living in the housing, we're not going to charge them for the housing. If they're not using the meal plans, we're not going to charge them for the meal plan. So we will be working out plans for refunding. We're still working through some of the protocols. We had students who were scheduled to travel overseas during spring break, and those trips had to be canceled, and those students are out of pocket, and we're going to make them whole also. So we're working very hard to make sure that our students are not financially impacted by what we've had to do here.
And a lot of people want answers instantly. You're working through these things every single day at sort of figuring it out as it happens.
Yes, we are. This obviously there's no playbook for something like this, so we're compiling the answers. In some cases, we've anticipated questions. In some, we're getting questions that we had not anticipated, but we're working very hard, almost around the clock, to try to get answers to people. So we ask that everybody be patient with us, and again, our general principle is that we're not going to turn people on the street. We're not going to confiscate their money. We will figure out how to get that all done and take care of everybody. And our overarching goal is to keep the community safe, students, faculty, staff, and to finish this semester.
Perfect. Chris, thank you so much.
Well, thank you.
Mike and Alex, we'll toss things back to you guys in the studio.
All right, thank you for that.